Linda stood outside the decorated hall, her heart racing. The building was filled with balloons, pink and blue ribbons, and cheerful music drifting through the doors. She had imagined this moment for weeks, walking into her daughter's baby shower with the gift she had spent so many nights preparing. In her hands, she carried a large, neatly wrapped box. Inside was a quilt she had sewn herself. Each patch carried a memory: pieces of old dresses Emily had worn as a child, a square from the blanket she used to drag everywhere, even a strip from Linda's own wedding dress. It was her way of showing love, her way of saying, "You'll always be my little girl." But the moment Linda stepped to the check-in table at the entrance, things began to feel wrong. The young woman at the desk smiled politely and asked for her name. "Linda Miller," she said softly, trying to hide her nerves. The woman looked down at the list, ran her finger across the paper, and frowned. Then she looked again, flipping the pages. "I'm sorry, your name isn't here." Linda blinked, confused. "That can't be right. I'm her mother." The woman's polite smile faded into something more awkward. "I'll double-check, but you're not on the guest list." People behind Linda were starting to line up, their voices cheerful, laughing as they gave their names and walked inside. Linda felt heat rising in her chest. Her daughter must have forgotten. Maybe it was just a mistake. There was no way Emily, her only child, would plan something like this without her. Clutching the gift tighter, Linda asked, "Could you please call my daughter, Emily? She'll clear this up." The woman hesitated but finally nodded. "Of course. Please wait here." Linda stood by the entrance, watching families and friends stream into the hall. She heard the clinking of glasses, bursts of laughter, and someone calling out Emily's name inside. Linda's heart ached. She wanted to be part of it, to sit beside her daughter, to smile and celebrate the baby who would soon call her grandmother. Then she saw Emily walking toward her. For a moment, relief washed over Linda. Her daughter looked beautiful in a flowing white dress, her hand resting on her round belly. Surely, this would all be cleared up. Surely, Emily would smile and say, "Mom, what are you doing out here? Come in." But Emily didn't smile. She stopped a few feet away, her face calm but her eyes sharp. "Mom, why are you here?" Linda frowned, confused. "Why am I here? Sweetheart, this is your baby shower. I wouldn't miss it." Emily let out a small laugh, not a kind one but sharp, cutting. "Did you really think you'd be invited?" The words struck Linda like a slap. She stared at her daughter, unable to speak for a moment. What do you mean?" Emily crossed her arms. "I didn't want you here. Jason didn't want you here. We didn't put you on the list for a reason." The people standing nearby, some guests waiting to get in, some staff, shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to listen but clearly hearing every word. Linda's throat tightened. She wanted to argue, to ask why, to remind Emily of everything she had sacrificed raising her alone after her father died. But she saw the smirk on her daughter's face, the coldness in her eyes, and realized this wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. Linda's hands trembled as she looked down at the gift she had carried so carefully. Her heart was breaking, but she refused to let tears show. She forced a small smile and lifted her chin. "I see," she said softly. "I understand perfectly." Emily raised an eyebrow, waiting for her to beg or argue. But Linda didn't. She simply stepped aside, turned, and walked away from the entrance, holding the box close to her chest like a shield. Her steps were slow but steady. She refused to look back. Inside, laughter and music continued, as if nothing had happened. But to Linda, each sound felt like another knife. The party was going on without her. Her daughter had shut her out completely. And yet, as Linda walked back to her car, a strange calm settled over her. She knew she couldn't fight for a place where she wasn't wanted. But she also knew something Emily didn't. Sometimes, the truth finds its way out, whether people want it to or not. Linda placed the quilt box gently on the passenger seat, sat behind the wheel, and closed her eyes. The pain in her chest was heavy, but she whispered to herself, "One day, she'll understand." The party carried on inside. But the empty seat at the family table was waiting. Inside the hall, the party sparkled with life. Music played softly in the background, glasses clinked, and guests filled the room with laughter. Pink and blue balloons floated above the tables, and a large banner stretched across the wall. "Welcome, baby Miller." The celebration was everything Emily had planned. Perfect decorations, a big cake, and family and friends surrounding her. But even in the middle of the noise, a small unease lingered in the air. At the main table, where close family members were meant to sit, one chair stood empty. It was a large, decorated chair, placed right next to Emily's seat. Everyone noticed it, but no one dared to ask. Emily tried to ignore it. She forced a smile as her friends handed her wrapped gifts and congratulated her. Jason, her husband, stood proudly beside her, greeting people and thanking them for coming. But every so often, Emily's eyes flicked to that chair. Empty. Silent. Some guests whispered quietly among themselves. "Isn't that supposed to be for her mother?" one cousin asked. "I thought so too," another replied, glancing around the hall. Jason's mother, sitting at the opposite end, noticed the tension as well. Her face was thoughtful, even concerned, though she stayed silent. Emily opened gifts, smiling at each one. Cute baby clothes, toys, a stroller. Everyone clapped and cheered. But the energy wasn't as bright as she had hoped. A shadow hung over the celebration. Every time someone glanced at the empty chair, Emily felt her chest tighten. She knew people were wondering why her own mother wasn't there. She told herself it didn't matter. She had made her decision. She didn't want drama. But still, the silence of that chair was louder than all the laughter in the room. At one point, a family friend leaned over and asked, "Emily, where's your mom? We thought she'd be here." Emily's smile froze. She quickly waved her hand and said, "Oh, she's busy. Couldn't make it." Then she changed the subject, but her voice cracked slightly as she spoke. Jason noticed. He placed a hand on her shoulder, giving her a firm look as if to say, "Don't let it bother you. Stick to the plan." So Emily pushed on. She laughed louder, spoke faster, and pretended not to hear the whispers. But in her heart, she felt something she hadn't expected: guilt. Meanwhile, the quilt Linda had left in her car sat quietly, folded inside its box. No one in the hall knew it existed. No one saw the love stitched into every patch. Instead, all they saw was an empty chair where a mother should have been. As the games began, Emily tried to relax. People guessed the baby's gender, played with balloons, and made silly predictions about names. The energy picked up again, and Emily started to feel safe. Maybe no one would ask again. Maybe the whispers would fade. But as the time for the big gender reveal approached, the tension returned. A table was set up at the center of the hall with a giant balloon, ready to be popped. Everyone gathered around, cheering and recording with their phones. The music lowered. The spotlight moved to Emily and Jason. And there it was again, that chair. Still empty. Still waiting. Emily felt her throat tighten. She told herself, "This is my day. I don't need her here. I made the right choice." But when Jason's mother stood up and looked at the chair, her expression unreadable, Emily's stomach sank. For the first time that night, she wondered if she had gone too far. The room grew quiet as Jason took the pin in his hand. Everyone counted down together. 3, 2, 1. But before he could pop the balloon, a sudden crackle came from the speakers. The microphone system made a sharp noise. Then, a trembling voice filled the room. The voice of the woman who should have been sitting in that empty chair. The room froze. The crackle faded, and a soft, shaking voice filled the hall. "Hi, Emily. It's Mom." People lowered their phones. A few whispered. Jason turned to the sound booth, frowning, but no one moved. Emily's fingers tightened around the ribbon in her hand. "I wanted to say this face to face," the voice went on, gentle and tired. "But I guess this is the only way you'll hear me today." A chair scraped against the floor. The music had stopped. Even the balloons seemed still. "I made you a quilt," Linda's voice said. "It has pieces of your old dresses, the blanket you loved when you were 4, the apron we stained making cupcakes. I stitched it at night because I kept thinking of you. Your laugh, your first day of school, how you used to fall asleep in the car and pretend you weren't tired." A small gasp came from a table near the front. Emily stared at the balloon, eyes glossy, jaw set. "I know we disagree," Linda continued. "I know I am not perfect. Maybe I have said things the wrong way. But I never stopped being your mother. That does not switch off. Not when you grow up. Not when you get married. Not when you shut a door in my face." A baby giggled somewhere in the back, a tiny sound that made the silence sharper. Jason shifted his weight, annoyed, then looked at Emily. She wouldn't look at him. "I did not come today to argue," the voice said. "I came to celebrate your baby. My grandchild. Our family. I wanted to sit in that chair by your side and be proud of you. Even if you didn't want me there, I still am. I am proud of you." Emily blinked fast. She swallowed, but her throat felt tight. "If you need space, I will give you space, Linda said softly. If you need time, I will give you time. But I will not give up on you. The quilt is by the door. Take it or leave it. Either way, I love you. And I will always love the child you're bringing into this world. The recording ended. A faint click, then a hush so deep the air seemed heavy. No one moved. Then chairs creaked. Someone dabbed their eyes. A cousin looked away, embarrassed by the tears on her cheeks. Jason's mother stared at the empty chair beside Emily as if it were a person. The DJ leaned over the soundboard, pretending to fix a wire, but his hands shook. Emily felt everyone's eyes. Shame rose hot in her chest. She wanted to be angry, at the staff, at the sound system, at anyone. Instead, a memory pressed in, her small hands tugging a blanket, Linda's voice singing low, the smell of vanilla from cupcake batter. For a second, the hall vanished, and she was 5 again, safe and stubborn, held and loved. Jason leaned close. What is this? He whispered, trying to smile for the room. Do we keep going? Emily didn't answer. Her lips trembled. She focused on the balloon, its glossy surface reflecting the lights like a calm lake. A friend stepped forward. Emily, are you okay? I'm fine, Emily said, too quickly. Let's just do the reveal. But her voice came out thin, and the crowd heard it. They heard the break under the brave face. They saw the empty chair. They had heard a mother speak with no anger, only love. Jason raised the pin. On 3, he said weakly. They counted, but the room didn't join in. 3, 2. The pin hovered. Emily's hands shook. Wait, she said. The word slipped out like a sigh. She put the ribbon down. The hall exhaled with her. Emily looked at the entrance. The double doors stood open, sunlight pooling on the floor. She imagined her mother, standing there alone with the quilt, waiting to be called inside. No one had called her. Emily felt the ache wrap around her like a tight cloth. Jason whispered, We talked about this. She nodded. I know. He tried again, low and sharp. Don't let them make you feel guilty. But guilt had already arrived, and it was not the loud, angry kind. It was quiet. It was the empty chair beside her. It was the softness in a voice that did not fight back. A guest near the entrance stepped outside, then came back in with a box wrapped in simple paper. He looked around, unsure. This was by the door, he said awkwardly. Is this for Emily? A murmur moved through the room like a small wind. People turned. Emily's heartbeat thudded in her ears. Jason's jaw clenched. Put it aside, he said. We'll handle it later. But the guest hesitated, then placed the box gently on the gift table, right where everyone could see it. Emily stayed at it. The size, the careful corners, the ribbon tied with patient hands. She knew that ribbon. Her mother tied bows like that when wrapping school lunches with notes inside. Good luck on your test. Love, Mom. Her chest hurt. Jason cleared his throat. We should continue. Emily reached out to the box without thinking. Her fingers brushed the paper, light as a breath. She pulled back as if it burned. Another voice lifted from the crowd, soft and real. Sweetheart, an older woman said, it's okay to pause. The room waited for Emily to lead. She had planned everything, down to the color of the napkins. But this moment wasn't in her plan. She lifted the microphone with unsteady hands. Her reflection wobbled in the balloon, a stranger with bright eyes and a stiff smile. Thank you all for coming, she said, voice wavering. I appreciate it. She swallowed. I heard the message. I need a minute. She lowered the mic. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then Jason reached for the balloon again, forcing it. No, we're finishing, he said, louder than before. Let's do it. Emily flinched at the tone. Eyes flicked between them. The room felt smaller. Jason's mother rose from her seat, calm but firm. Jason, she said, give her a moment. Her gaze slid to the sound booth, then to the entrance, then back to Emily. Something unreadable passed across her face, worry, and something like decision. Emily touched the box again, this time laying her palm flat on it, as if feeling a heartbeat. The paper was cool. The bow was steady. She closed her eyes and saw the stitches, the little pieces of a life sewn together. When she opened her eyes, the hall was still watching. The silence had changed. It wasn't sharp now. It was gentle, waiting to see who Emily would be. Please, she whispered. Just a minute. Jason lowered the pin, jaw tight. And in that held breath, between the unpopped balloon and the unopened box, the party shifted. The laughter from earlier didn't fit anymore. The The phones lowered for good. The guests weren't an audience now, they were witnesses. Emily stepped away from the balloon and toward the gift table. No one stopped her. The quilt, still hidden, seemed to hum in the paper like a quiet promise. She set her fingers on the bow. The microphone, forgotten on the stand, caught a small sound from the back of the room. A chair moving. Soft footsteps. Someone near the soundboard looking down, then away. Emily pulled one end of the ribbon. It slipped free with a sigh. The knot loosened. She lifted the lid. The room leaned in. And the story, which had been about a party, turned into something else entirely. The lid lifted. Inside lay a soft, folded quilt, pale colors stitched into tiny squares. Emily touched the top patch. It was a piece of her yellow sundress from second grade, the one with the daisy print. Another square showed a faint chocolate stain from the cupcakes she baked with Mom on rainy days. A thin ivory strip ran along the edge, elegant, old. Emily realized it was from her mother's wedding dress. Her breath hitched. The hall was silent, not hostile, just waiting. She slid the quilt out and opened it. Across the center, stitched in careful blue thread, were simple words. For your baby, with all my love. Mom. Something inside Emily cracked. Tears slid down, quiet and warm. She hugged the quilt to her chest and felt steadier, like the fabric itself held her up. The balloon and cameras no longer mattered. The empty chair did. Jason stepped close, voice low, tight. Put it away, Em. Let's do the reveal. Emily didn't move. Who played the message? She asked the room, not angry, only tired. It wasn't me. It wasn't my mom. The DJ looked terrified. I was given the audio and told to play it when the countdown started. By who? Jason demanded. A chair scraped back. Jason's mother stood, smoothing her dress. Her voice was soft, but it carried. By me. Eyes turned. Jason stared. Mom. She nodded once. I found the card at the door when I arrived. I read it. I saw the gift left outside like a secret. I watched that empty chair for an hour. She looked at Emily, not unkindly. I thought the truth should be heard. A mother's love isn't something we hide. Jason's face flushed. You went behind us. I tried to go in front of what was right, she said gently. This day is for the baby. Someday, that child will ask who showed up for love. I wanted the answer to be everyone. Emily pressed her lips together. The room did not feel heavy now. It felt clear, like rain had washed the dust away. She turned the quilt and found a small pocket sewn into the corner. Inside was a folded photo, little Emily in a paper crown, teeth missing, frosting on her cheeks, Linda smiling with tired eyes and open arms. Emily's voice broke. I need to go. Jason grabbed her elbow. We're not leaving. People came for us. She gently pulled free. They came for family. I'm going to get mine. No one stopped her. She walked toward the doors, quilt in her arms like a shield and a bridge at once. Behind her, the crowd remained quiet. Some guests blinked away tears, others let them fall. Jason stood still, jaw tight, as if the floor had moved and he hadn't. Outside, warm air met Emily's face. She hurried to the parking lot, heart pounding with fear and hope. The world felt big and simple at the same time. Find Mom. She drove to Linda's small house. The porch light was off, even though it was still day. For a second, she wanted to turn around, to run back to the safety of noise and plans. But the quilt was steady in her arms. She knocked. The door opened inches, then wider. Linda stood there, eyes red but calm, like a storm that had already passed. Emily held up the quilt. I heard your message. Linda swallowed. I shouldn't have. I didn't. It wasn't you, Emily said, a small, shaky smile. Jason's mom played it. She let out a breathy laugh at the oddness of it. I guess we both have mothers who can't watch in silence. Linda's mouth trembled into a smile. Is that okay? It saved me, Emily whispered. I was cruel. I'm sorry. The words came out like stones lifted from her chest. I pushed you away because I felt judged. But the truth is, I was afraid. Afraid of being a bad mother. Afraid you'd see that. Linda's face softened in a way Emily hadn't seen in years. Every mother is afraid, she said. That's how we love. We fear, and we try anyway. She opened the door fully. Come in. Emily stepped forward and suddenly they were hugging, quilt between them, fabric catching tears on both sides. For a long moment, There were no speeches, no rules, only breath and warmth and the small sounds people make when they forgive. They sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around warm mugs Linda had rushed to fill. Emily ran her fingers over the stitches. You used the apron stripe. We burned half of it making caramel, Linda said, smiling. You kept stirring after I said stop. I wanted it darker, Emily murmured. Just like today. I kept pushing. She shook her head. I'm done pushing you away. They didn't fix everything in one talk. Real life doesn't bend that easily. But they made a plan. Linda would come by next week, not to take over, just to help fold baby clothes and set up the crib. Emily would set boundaries and also open doors. They agreed to talk before things turned sharp. They agreed to show up. Later, Emily returned to the hall. The party had softened. People spoke in gentle voices. Jason waited at the entrance, anger and confusion fighting in his eyes. Where did you go? He asked. To invite my mother back, Emily said. She's coming next week. She'll be part of our baby's life. That's not what we agreed. We agreed to protect our family, she said. That starts with telling the truth and making room for love. I'm not choosing a fight today. She paused. You don't have to like it right now, but you do have to respect it. Jason's mother stepped beside him, quiet support in her posture. Jason looked from his wife to his mother, then away. He didn't answer. Not yet. They did the reveal at last. The balloon popped, confetti rained down, cheers rose up again, lighter this time, honest. Emily smiled through tears, feeling the room shift from performance to celebration. Afterward, a few guests came by to hug her, not because of the color of the confetti, but because she had chosen love in front of them. The empty chair beside Emily was no longer a wound. It was a promise. Late that night, Emily placed the quilt across the bed and ran her hand over the words in blue thread. For your baby, with all my love. She imagined tiny fingers grabbing the edges, a sleepy face pressed into the soft fabric, stories whispered in the dark. She sent a message to her mother. Come by tomorrow? I want to tell you the name we picked. A bubble appeared, typing, stopping, typing again. Then, I'd love that. I'll bring tea. Emily smiled and set down the phone. The room felt full even though she was alone. She turned off the light and held the quilt close. In the end, the twist was simple and true. The voice that changed the day wasn't meant to hurt anyone. It came from another mother who couldn't watch love be locked outside. And because of that one brave choice, two families began to stitch themselves together, one square at a time.